All right, let's dive in. We're taking a deep dive today
Yeah.
into this source called Pasted Text. It's really a collection of teachings, actually, from a non-physical entity called Abraham.
Okay.
And it gets into some seriously deep questions, like who are we? Why are we here? And the big one, the power we have to shape our own reality.
Hmm.
So yeah, get ready, because we're going to unpack some seriously mind-blowing concepts.
I think it's really interesting how pasted text presents these concepts as like universal laws,
Oh, yeah.
these fundamental principles,
Yeah.
that govern not just the physical world,
Yeah,
but also our thoughts and feelings and experiences.
right.
It suggests like this underlying order and predictability.
Yeah.
That could be both empowering
Yeah.
and, let's face it, a little daunting at times.
For sure, for sure. Okay, so let's start with one that I think a lot of people might already be familiar with, the law of attraction.
Okay.
We've all heard the phrase like attracts like,
Right.
but what does that actually mean? Like practically speaking?
So think about it this way. Imagine you're tuning a radio. You dial into a specific frequency to receive a particular station.
Yeah.
Well-pasted text suggests that your thoughts and feelings
Mm.
are essentially doing the same thing.
Oh,
They're
yeah.
emitting a frequency. That attracts similar frequencies back to you. So if you're constantly focusing on negativity, guess what? You're likely to attract more of that into your life.
Mm.
But if you can shift your focus to the positive, to what
Uh-huh.
you do want, then you start aligning with a different frequency, one that brings more joy, abundance, and fulfillment.
So it's not just about like positive thinking, it's about actually aligning your energy with what you desire.
Exactly. It's not about denying negative emotions or pretending everything's perfect.
Yeah, right.
It's about recognizing the power of your focus
Okay.
and consciously choosing to direct it towards what you want to experience.
So we're all these like energetic magnets, constantly attracting and repelling different experiences based on our vibrational frequency. That's the idea. Okay, but where does the creation part come in? Can we really like manifest our dream life just by thinking about it?
So that's where the law of deliberate creation comes in. Pasted text really emphasizes that we have the power to consciously shape our reality, not just by attracting things, but by actively creating them through the combined power of thought, feeling, and intention.
Okay, so it's not enough to just daydream about what we want. We have to like put some energy behind it.
It's like the difference between just wanting a garden and actually planting the seeds.
Okay.
Nurturing the soil, tending to the plants. Desire is important, but it's the focused action, fueled by genuine emotion and intention, that truly brings the creation into being.
So if we want to create something new in our lives, whether it's a new job, a new relationship, even a new state of health, we need to first get clear on what we desire and then infuse that desire with feeling and focused action.
Precisely. It's about moving from a passive state of wanting to an active state of creation, aligning our energy with the desired outcome, and then taking inspired action. That's in harmony with that vision.
I love that. This is where things get really interesting for me, though, because if we're all creating our own reality, what about other people and their choices? How does that factor into all of this?
Right, and that's where the law of allowing comes in. And this can be a tricky one,
Yeah.
especially when we're dealing with situations or behaviors that we don't necessarily agree with.
Mm-hmm.
But pasted text suggests that allowing is about recognizing that everyone is on their own creative journey,
Oh, okay.
making their own choices, shaping their own reality based on their individual beliefs and perspectives.
So it's not about condoning or agreeing with everything, but about recognizing that we can't control other people's choices.
Exactly. Or force them to create in a way that aligns with our preferences. It's about releasing the need to control or change others and focusing instead on our own creative power, recognizing that their journey is theirs, just as our journey is ours.
But how do we protect ourselves from negativity or harmful actions if everyone is creating their own reality?
This is where that concept of vibrational alignment becomes so crucial. Remember that radio analogy?
Yeah.
You have the power to choose which station you want to tune into by focusing on what you do want, on the positive aspects of your life,
Yeah.
on the frequencies of love, joy, abundance. You become less susceptible to that negativity.
So it's like building up an immunity to lower vibrations.
You could say that, yes. And the more you practice aligning with those higher frequencies, the more natural and effortless it becomes.
Okay, so we've got these universal laws, attraction, deliberate creation, allowing all working together to shape our reality.
Right.
But how do we actually apply these principles in our daily lives? Like I can't just walk around, thinking about manifesting my dream life 24/7, right?
Don't give
I've
up.
got things to do.
That's where pasted text introduces the concept of segment intending. It's about bringing these universal laws down to earth, applying them to specific segments of our day.
Okay.
You could think of it as like setting micro intentions, consciously directing the energy of each experience.
So instead of letting the day just happen to me, I'm proactively setting the tone, like creating little pockets of deliberate creation throughout my day.
Yes, exactly.
That's brilliant.
It's about infusing each moment with intention. Whether it's your morning commute, a work meeting, even just a simple conversation, it's about being a conscious participant in your reality rather than just a passive observer.
Okay, now I'm really intrigued. So we've talked about attraction, creation, allowing even micro intentions throughout our day. But pasted text also mentions this concept of an inner being or a higher self. What exactly is that, and how does it play into all of this?
This is where things get really mind-bending. Pasted text suggests that we're not just physical beings having a human experience. We're also spiritual beings having a physical experience. This inner being is described as like our true essence, the source of our intuition, wisdom, and guidance.
So it's like we have this wise, all-knowing part of ourselves that we're not always fully aware of.
It's like having an inner GPS that's always guiding us towards our highest good. But we often get distracted by the static of our thoughts and emotions and miss those signals.
Wow. But how do we tap into that inner wisdom? How do we hear those signals more clearly?
That's the idea behind the Great Awakening and blending that pasted text talks about.
Okay.
A blended being is someone who lives in harmony with both their physical and non-physical selves, consciously using that connection to navigate life with greater clarity, purpose, and joy.
So it sounds like accessing a whole new level of awareness. But how do we actually achieve that blending? Is it some kind of mystical experience?
It's more of a gradual process of becoming more attuned to our inner guidance, learning to trust our intuition, and making choices that are in alignment with our soul's purpose. Pasted text suggests that this blending happens naturally as we become more conscious creators, more aligned with the universal laws.
Okay, so we're moving towards a more holistic way of being, integrating our physical and non-physical selves, using our intuition and creative power to shape our reality. This is a lot to absorb.
It is. We've covered a lot of ground, but it's all interconnected, these concepts. They build upon each other, creating a framework for understanding ourselves and the universe in a profoundly new way.
But let's bring it back down to earth for a moment. What about relationships? How do all of these universal laws and concepts apply to our interactions with others, especially romantic relationships?
That's a great question, and a perfect segue into our next segment. Relationships, according to pasted text, are powerful mirrors, reflecting back to us our own beliefs and patterns of creation. They can be both challenging and incredibly rewarding, offering opportunities for growth, expansion, and profound love.
This is already getting juicy. I'm eager to hear more about what pasted text has to say about finding love, creating fulfilling relationships, and navigating the inevitable ups and downs that come with, sharing our lives with others.
I'm ready to dive into that with you. It's a topic that's both deeply personal and universal. And I think pasted text offers some truly valuable insights that can help us all create more loving and fulfilling connections. So welcome back. I think it's really fascinating to consider how these universal laws might play out in the realm of relationships. After all, that's where so much of our creative energy gets focused, right?
Absolutely. We pour so much of ourselves into our relationships, hoping to find love, connections, support. But, it doesn't always go as smoothly as we'd like. Pasted text seems to suggest that a lot of our relationship struggles actually stem from our own, limiting beliefs and patterns of creation.
Yeah. It's like we're bringing all our baggage, our past experiences, fears, insecurities into these incredibly intimate spaces, And then we wonder why things get messy.
Right, exactly. So how do we break free from those patterns? How do we create relationships that are truly aligned with, our desires and our highest good?
Well, pasted text really emphasizes the importance of self-awareness. It's about taking a deep dive into our own beliefs and patterns, understanding how they're shaping our reality, and then consciously choosing to shift those patterns to align with what we truly want to experience.
Makes sense. We can't really attract healthy, loving relationships if we're operating from a place of fear, lack, or insecurity.
Exactly. It's like trying to build a house on a foundation of sand. It's just not going to be stable, We need to create a strong foundation of self-love, self-worth, and self-acceptance before we can truly attract a partner who reflects those qualities back to us.
So step one is to do the inner work. Cultivate that sense of wholeness within ourselves.
Precisely. It's about recognizing that we are already whole and complete, that we don't need another person to fix us or to make us happy. When we come from that place of inner wholeness, we're able to approach relationships from a more balanced and empowered perspective.
Oh, that's a powerful shift in thinking. It's not about finding someone to complete us. It's about finding someone who complements us, who adds to the already amazing life we're creating for ourselves.
Exactly. And when we're coming from that place of self-love and self-acceptance, we're more likely to attract a partner who reflects those qualities back to us, someone who sees our worth and celebrates our unique individuality.
So how does the law of attraction actually work when it comes to finding love? Like, what does that look like?
Well, pasted text suggests that we attract what we are, not just what we want. So if we're vibrating at a frequency of love, joy, self-acceptance, we're more likely to attract a partner who's also vibrating at that same high frequency.
So it's not about making a checklist of qualities we're looking for in a partner.
It's more about cultivating those qualities within ourselves, becoming the kind of person we want to attract, aligning our energy with the kind of relationship we desire.
Yeah. This is really resonating with me. It's about taking responsibility for our own happiness and well-being and trusting that the universe will deliver a partner who's a vibrational match for who we are at our core.
Exactly. And it's important to remember that attracting the right partner, it's not a one-time event, it's an ongoing process. We're constantly evolving and growing, and our relationships will reflect that growth.
So we need to be open to change, to allowing our relationships to evolve and expand as we do.
Precisely. And that requires a willingness to let go of control, to trust the process, and to embrace the unknown. It's about allowing love to unfold naturally, in its own time and in its own way.
This all sounds beautiful in theory, but let's be real. Relationships can be messy, they can be complicated, and sometimes just downright challenging. What about those inevitable conflicts and disagreements? How do we navigate those in a way that's aligned with these universal laws?
Well, pasted text suggests that conflicts often arise when we try to control or change our partner. When we resist their individuality or we project our own expectations onto them.
So it's about recognizing that our partner is their own person, with their own unique thoughts and feelings and desires, and that's okay.
Exactly. It's about accepting and celebrating their individuality, even when it challenges our own beliefs or preferences.
Which, that can be tough, right? Especially when we feel like our partner's choices are, hurting us or damaging the relationship.
It is. But remember the law of allowing. It's about releasing that need to control or change the other person and focusing instead on our own inner state.
But doesn't that mean we just have to accept whatever our partner does, even if it's hurtful or disrespectful?
Not at all. Allowing doesn't mean being a doormat. It's about recognizing that we have the power to choose our response to any situation. We can choose to engage in conflict from a place of anger and resentment, or we can choose to approach it from a place of love and understanding.
So it's about setting healthy boundaries, communicating our needs clearly, and then choosing to respond to our partner's actions in a way that feels empowering and aligned with our values.
Precisely. And sometimes that might mean walking away from a relationship that's no longer serving our highest good. But even in those situations, we can choose to do so with grace, compassion, and understanding.
This is such a different way of looking at relationships. It's not about blaming our partner for our unhappiness or trying to force them to change. It's about taking responsibility for our own well-being and recognizing that we have the power to choose how we respond to any situation.
Exactly. And it's about trusting that the universe is always supporting us, guiding us towards relationships that are aligned with our highest good, even if the path isn't always clear or easy.
This is also incredibly insightful, but let's shift gears a bit. Pasted text also talks about our physical bodies and the role they play in our overall well-being. What does Abraham have to say about health and vitality from this perspective of universal laws?
Right. Well, pasted text emphasizes the interconnectedness of our physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual well-being. It suggests that our bodies are actually powerful reflections of our thoughts, beliefs, and patterns of creation.
Okay, so if we're constantly focused on negativity or stress or fear, those emotions will eventually manifest as physical symptoms or imbalances.
Precisely. And conversely, if we cultivate a vibration of well-being, of joy, gratitude, and self-love, our bodies will reflect that positive energy.
So it's not just about eating healthy and exercising. It's about creating a harmonious inner state that supports physical vitality.
Exactly. It's about aligning our thoughts, feelings, and actions with a vision of health and well-being. It's about recognizing our bodies as powerful instruments of creation, capable of healing and thriving when we give them the right conditions.
So if we're experiencing health challenges, it's not about blaming our bodies or feeling like victims of circumstance.
It's more about exploring the underlying beliefs and patterns that might be contributing to those challenges. It's about asking ourselves, what am I holding on to that's blocking the flow of well-being in my body?
So it's about taking responsibility for our own health and well-being, both physically and emotionally.
Precisely. And it's about recognizing that healing is a process, a journey that requires patience, self-compassion, and a willingness to make changes that support our overall well-being.
This is such a holistic approach to health. It's not just about treating symptoms. It's about addressing the root causes and creating a lifestyle that supports vitality on all levels.
Exactly. It's about seeing our bodies as partners in our creative journey, honoring their wisdom, and giving them the nourishment and support they need to thrive.
We've covered a lot of ground today: relationships, health, personal growth, and the interconnectedness of it all. But there's one more concept from pasted text that I'm particularly curious about, and that's this idea of Christ consciousness. It sounds a bit mysterious.
Hmm.
What exactly does that mean? And is it only relevant to people who identify as Christian?
That's a great question. Christ consciousness, as described in pasted text, is not about a specific religion or belief system. It's about accessing a state of consciousness that embodies the qualities of love, compassion, forgiveness, and unconditional acceptance.
So it's about tapping into that divine spark that exists within all of us, regardless of our religious beliefs or spiritual background.
Exactly. It's about recognizing our inherent worthiness, our connection to something greater than ourselves, and our capacity to express those qualities in our everyday lives.
It sounds like a profound shift in perspective, moving from a sense of separation and limitation to a sense of unity and limitless potential.
Precisely. And pasted text suggests that this shift in consciousness is a natural evolution of our spiritual journey, a process of awakening to our true nature and embracing our divine essence.
Wow, this is a lot to absorb, but it's incredibly inspiring. It's like we're being invited to step into a new level of awareness, to embrace a more expansive view of ourselves and the universe.
It is, and it's an invitation that's open to all of us, regardless of our beliefs or background. It's about recognizing that we are all connected, that we're all part of something much greater than ourselves, and that we all have the potential to express those divine qualities of love, compassion, and wisdom in our own unique ways.
All right, welcome back to our deep dive into pasted text. It's really incredible to think about everything we've discussed, like from the law of attraction and how it shapes our experiences to the potential for us to tap into something as profound as Christ consciousness.
Mm-hmm.
It feels like we've been on this epic journey through the inner workings of the universe.
It has been a really rich exploration.
Yeah.
And, we've only just scratched the surface of what pasted text has to offer. I'm particularly drawn to how it addresses the topic of addictions,
Oh, yeah.
because so many people struggle with that. And, it's often seen as this battle of willpower.
Right.
But pasted text suggests a totally different perspective.
Yeah, addiction is definitely a topic that's often shrouded in shame
Mm-hmm.
and misunderstanding. So what does pasted text offer that's different from the usual narrative around addiction?
Well, instead of framing it as a personal failing or a lack of willpower, pasted text views it as a misalignment of energy. It suggests that addictions often arise from this deep desire for well-being, but that desire gets channeled in a way that ultimately creates more suffering.
So it's like we're seeking fulfillment or relief, but we're just looking in the wrong places
Yeah,
or using the wrong tools.
exactly. Pasted text reminds us that our true source of well-being lies within.
Mm-hmm.
Addictions, in a sense, become a distraction from that inner source, a temporary fix that ultimately perpetuates the cycle of craving and dissatisfaction.
It's like trying to quench your thirst with salt water, right?
Yes.
You might feel that temporary relief, but ultimately it just makes you thirstier.
Perfect analogy.
Yeah.
So from this perspective, overcoming addiction isn't about, white-knuckling your way through withdrawal or solely relying on external support. It's about shifting your focus back to that inner wellspring of well-being, rediscovering what truly nourishes your soul.
So it's a process of realignment, of returning to our center and finding healthier ways to meet those, underlying needs.
Exactly. It's about becoming conscious of the patterns and beliefs that are driving the addiction, and then choosing to replace those with thoughts, feelings, and behaviors that are more aligned with our true desires for well-being.
That's a much more empowering perspective. It suggests that even in the face of something as challenging as addiction, we still have the power to to change, to heal.
Absolutely. And pasted text emphasizes that we're not alone in this process. We have access to infinite support, both from within ourselves and from the universe.
Speaking of support, I'm curious about the source of these teachings, this entity called Abraham. What's their motivation for sharing all of this wisdom with us?
Well, pasted text describes Abraham as a collective consciousness,
Okay.
a group of non-physical entities who've evolved to a state of pure love and wisdom. And they describe their motivation as one of pure joy and expansion. They delight in witnessing our growth and evolution as we become more conscious creators.
So they're not like these detached superior beings handing down commandments from on high. They're more like benevolent guides, cheering us on as we navigate this whole human experience.
Exactly. And they see our journey as interconnected with their own. They describe this universal tapestry of consciousness, where every thought, feeling, and action contributes to the evolution of the whole.
Wow, that's a beautiful thought. And pretty humbling, too. We're not just creating our own little reality bubbles. We're co-creating the universe with every choice we make.
Precisely. And, that realization carries a tremendous responsibility, but also an incredible sense of purpose and possibility.
We've explored so much in this deep dive. It's hard to believe we've reached the end. We covered the law of attraction, the law of deliberate creation, the law of allowing, segment intending, the concept of blending, relationships, health, Christ consciousness, addictions, and even, Abraham's motivation for sharing this wisdom.
It has been an incredible journey, a real testament to the depth and richness of pasted text. I really hope our listeners are feeling as inspired as I am by all the possibilities that pasted text presents.
I know I am. And it's such a powerful reminder that we're not just passive observers in our own lives. We are active creators, constantly shaping our reality through our thoughts, feelings, and beliefs. And that is incredibly empowering.
Absolutely. And as we wrap up this deep dive, I just want to encourage our listeners to continue exploring these concepts, to experiment with them in their own lives, and see what unfolds.
That's a great suggestion. We've only just scratched the surface of what pasted text has to offer. There's so much more to discover and explore.
Precisely. And the real magic happens when we take these concepts out of the realm of theory and apply them to our everyday lives. That's when we truly start to see the transformative power of these universal laws in action.
Couldn't have said it better myself. Well, thank you for joining us on this incredible deep dive into the wisdom of pasted text. And until next time, dear listeners, keep exploring, keep growing, and keep creating the life of your dreams.